Well, thank you very much for inviting me, and thanks to the whole team of the Economist unit. Your events really always make a difference. They're benchmark events, and I'm privileged to be speaking in front of this audience. Well, first of all, let me say that after the government was finally formed a few weeks ago, as most Bulgarians, I could breathe out with a relief saying, oh, finally. Because frankly speaking, it was a shame. Everything what was happening in the country for 4 years, with the political instability, it was a big obstruction to all intentions of the business, to the creation of the perspective for the country. I would say it was a robbery of the future, because we can see the world changing so rapidly around us. America, China, now finally the European Union woke up. We'll see what will come out of this. But Bulgaria was missing opportunities. And if you look at the polls now, there is, I think, 60 or 70% approval of the government, but not because people like this government, but they're finally saying, okay, this is a government, let's give them a chance. But this is very fragile. This is why I think the major challenge for the government in Bulgaria and for the political stability is that for the moment I don't see a big goal which would be bigger than the difference between the parties in the government. And it is a problem. I dared to share a few days ago in the media an idea that the government should put the goal, and in a broad discussion with the business community, with the trade unions, with the NGOs, to propose by June an economic competitive compass for Bulgaria. This is the European trend. We had the Letta reform, the Draghi reform, the decision from Budapest in November last year, and now in June we are expecting the Council to discuss how to make European economy more competitive. But what do we Bulgarians want? This is the question, and we have to answer it as soon as possible because, again, with all due respect, in the past years we were focused on ourselves. We became too provincial. Now we have to remind ourselves that we are members of the European Union, and if we don't formulate our goals, if we don't discuss common goals with Greece, Romania, the countries from Central Europe, Central and Eastern Europe, then the new economic priorities and tendencies in Europe will be not to our benefit, but maybe to our expense. This is why we have to be active. This is the major thing and the major message I would like to share with our audience, to be Europeans. And of course, I share the view that, first of all, we need a budget which is predictable and realistic. The very debate about how big is the exceptional deficit is very harming Bulgaria's aim to join the Eurozone in January 26. But all the politicians should admit that they are to be blamed, because in the past years, due to the political improductivity, I would say, of the parties, they were trying to persuade voters to vote for them by creating an extra prosperity on the basis of loans. This has to stop. Everybody should say, okay, we did it, now we stabilize, we aim at January 26 in the Eurozone, but people are afraid. Look at the polls. 57% of Bulgarians are against 31 in favor. So the politicians, the government should do their job. First, talk to the people, explain that our case is very different from Croatia or from other countries, that we are well prepared, and, of course, create organization, institutional, to address the fears that prices will be speculatively increased. Secondly, make again campaign with the society in order to change the mood, because politics should not be, too distant from the public opinion. Politicians should lead, but they should talk to people, and if the distance is too big, then they fail, they fall. And again, coming back to the government, I'm finishing. What I would like to see indeed a more strategic approach. In the previous panel, there was a speaking about scaling up enterprises. We as a country has to scale up. Europe has to scale up. And first task for Europe is to accomplish the common market. There are a number of sectors, telecommunications, energy, and many others, capital markets, where we don't have a common market. And we can only compete with America, China, on that basis, and speak, of course, with the single voice. Thank you.